Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Motivational speaker, coach, God lover, and goal crusher Joe Rivera brings you inspiring leaders, incredible stories, and valuable lessons on how you can change, grow, and reforge your life.
What's up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Reforge Your Life show with Joe Rivera. I'm your host, Joe Rivera. And here at the Reforge Your Life show, we like to show you that comeback stories are more than possible. And today, man, I love the fact that I'm bringing this dude on here, man. When I met him, I knew that the energy was there. And I asked him immediately that we had to get on a podcast and share a stage together, man. It's my pleasure to introduce Brian Caragina, man. And it's also, man, this is exciting, bro. He's a keynote speaker. He's a trainer for Tony Robbins. And, man, bro, thank you for coming through, brother.
Nah, thank you for having me, brother. The same way you mentioned that you knew it was going to click is the same feeling that I had. Just speaking to you a little bit filled me up with inspiration, I guess is the word. Just hearing your story and the way that you reforged your life, I'm like, I got to talk to you a little bit more and learn from him. So thank you for having me, brother.
Yeah, no doubt, bro, no doubt. And when I heard your story, I was inspired, man. And there's so many valuable tools that people can learn from that. And I can't tell your story the way you can, obviously. So please share your story. Let the audience know what you've been through.
Yeah. So I was born here in New York, but brought to DR very early in I was about 4 months old when I first got to Dominican Republic, and I essentially grew up with an illegal immigrant mother and a drug dealer as a father. So I love my dad I love my dad, but the reality of it is that we grew up in a kind of tough environment. And I remember just creating a life that I never thought I'd get away from. My dad, being in the streets, he would provide us with the sneakers, everything that we needed. And I was filled with just that connection with him through materialistic things and things of that nature. At the age of 11 years old, my father was brutally murdered in the Dominican Republic. And that's when I kind of woke up. To that point, I wasn't really living. I was just on autopilot, kind of drifting away. I'm a child, but I was not really conscious of my actions, not conscious of what I was doing. And in a blink of an eye, I became a man. It was just like, now my mother was illegally here in the country. I had 2 younger brothers and sisters, an older brother who was figuring his life out. And so I started asking myself the question, why? Like, why me? Why, if I have everything that I need, I had the Jordans, I'll go to, the nice school, play baseball, all that good stuff. I'm like, now kind of my life was shattered, but why? I haven't done anything wrong, why me? And so at the age of 12, I just went into discovery about myself. And from there, just the hustle grew. I knew what I wanted in life. I knew what I had to do. And so I just started working really hard. At the age of 13, 14, I was already selling chocolates at school. I was when people would cut and do the hookies and go to the beach or whatnot, I would get my mom to make some empanadas, and we'll pack up the little cooler with some Capri Suns, and I'll head out to the beach just to sell them for $1. Power bands for baseball. The point is that I was out there, and in that environment, I ended up starting to read books. I started to kind of reforge my life and kind of build the person that you see today, Brian Cartagena. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the base and the foundation of my story. Ever since then, I had to deal with a lot more adversity, because we all know that adversity is kind of that point that drives you forward. So yeah, I've been blessed to have figured life out to some extent. And that's thanks to all the adversity that I had to go through. My father dying was the biggest blessing of my life, because that's who made me who I am today. That event is what kind of forged who Brian is today. So,
yeah, man, there's a lot there to unpack, right? Like you could have just easily fell back into being a statistic. Father was a drug dealer, passed away, grew up in the hood. You know what I mean, and just thrown it away. But you shifted and said, nah, you know what? I'm not going to go into this victim role. I'm not a victim of my circumstances and conditions. They don't control my destiny. I control my destiny. So, what was the shift? Because you went through the times where you kept saying why me on your pity pot, on your victim role. Where did that shift?
So I think that that's an important question when you ask why. I think it didn't come necessarily from a victim mentality. It was more like trying to uncover the deep truth, because essentially I knew that there was a purpose behind the madness, and I don't know, maybe I was just born that way, but I've always looked for why.
Okay.
Why? So when I say why me, it was more like, okay, I know that there's a lesson to learn here. What's that lesson?
There we go.
And I started finding the blessings in that tragedy. I realized that I was meant to be this man that I am today. I was meant to kind of take a hold of my family. I was meant to grow into more. And if, growing up with a quote unquote drug dealing father and him passing away would have just kind of kept me there. And so God needed to do what he needed to do in order for me to do what I needed to do. And so that question why is a question that I challenge everybody to ask themselves when there's a moment of tragedy, when there's a moment of hurt, when there's pain that you feel. You ask why. It's never for no reason. And you mentioned story. I think that one of the things that we do learn, one of the things that I do train people on is shifting their story. And so I think that as long as you have the right belief system and the right mindset, again, me understanding that everything happens for a purpose, then I could build a better story. And so I forged that story to make it make sense for what I wanted to accomplish.
Absolutely, because the story you tell yourself is what shapes and creates your destiny, right? So, so what happens after, your father passes away, you have this mindset change. What happens next?
So again, I started kind of finding ways to be valuable at an early age, and I say valuable to my family most importantly. And I started hustling. I use the word hustling from New York, so I started, I started making money.
On the grind.
And that's kind of where my life was focused. And I developed a lot of skills in sales. I developed a lot of skills in just progressing financially, and I thought that I had life figured out. At the age of 23, I was already making six figures. I was helping my mom, already kind of taking control of my whole environment, my family. I had some good friends, and life hit me again, because it always happens. And I was in a motorcycle accident going over 140 miles an hour. I completely shattered my leg. I had 7 bones broken in 21 different places. I had a quadricep tendon rupture. My life was literally shattered. I was in bed rest, and at that point I realized that there was no amount of money or no amount of success or financial success that was going to assist me when I was laying in a hospital bed for 4 months. And so that was another major shift in my life where I understood the power of our body, the power of our physiology, how to take care of the one temple that we have. And so I went, and that led me to a new path. And I started focusing on not only working out, but more importantly, just my health in general. And I started seeing the synchronicity between your body, your mind, and your soul. So I had already kind of worked on my mind a lot. At that point, I had already started reading books. I already attended a handful of Tony events. And now I started working on my body, and I just felt like I felt connected to something deeper. And so I started going into, I guess you could call it a spiritual journey, soul searching, whatever it is. And that's when I really found my mojo, and I really found out who I was. Essentially, a year after my accident, or actually 11 months after my accident, I met this beautiful young lady over at the gym working out at 5 a.m. And that's my wife now, mother of my 4 children, and the person who completely shifted my perspective on life. Wow. So I realized right then and there why things happen, right? So my accident led me to focus more on my health, and my health led me directly to my wife, my best friend, the person who inspires me, who motivates me, who pushes me to move forward. And that's been in the last 5 years. And so, yeah, I mean, my life is just a bunch of hardships that I've been able to forge a story to make it make sense for what I want to accomplish. And so I think that everybody, if there's anything that I can share with people, is that it really doesn't matter what happens. it's always been my purpose in life to kind of move forward. And so with that purpose in mind, I always find a way. So regardless of what happens, regardless of motorcycle accidents, regardless of my father being murdered, I've had situations in my relationship where they could have led me to a darker path. And so if you know why you're doing what you're doing, you'll always find a way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Knowing that why is so vital, you know, and you mentioned how your past doesn't define you. You know, it doesn't make you any less of what you're meant to be. Your past just helps you catapult into your future once you learn from that past, right? So I'm curious. You're in your 20s. You're laying in the hospital bed, legs shattered. Is it like questionable if you're gonna walk again?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. The motor skills are they gone? They're there.
I was immobilized, and my leg was immobilized for about 6 months. Had a machine like sucking out pus and blood, and I was literally had to relearn how to walk. When I got off of the bed after 2 months, I had to start taking my first steps like a baby.
Yeah. What was that like? For like, no, really, like. Here's the vulnerability, right? Like, what was that like for the mind? Like, where was that thought process of, oh shit, they're telling you might not be able to walk?
So, I've lived a life like belief driven. So I feel like our beliefs are what guide us to our potential, essentially. So what you believe in is kind of what allows you to reach or to push or to just shape that story that you have. And I've always had a deep belief about myself, thanks to my mother growing up, that I was meant for more. So when I was laying in the hospital bed and they told me that I might not be able to walk, I was already, again, belief driven. So I'm like, hey, you think I'm not gonna be able to walk, watch me. So I started focusing on watch me work, watch me do this. And then from there, it became even deeper. I'm like, wow, this happened for a purpose. I'm gonna not only am I going to figure this out and I'm gonna walk again, but I'm gonna help other people understand the power of their bodies. And I literally, it took me through a fitness journey. So I was overweight at that point. I was 200. So let me backtrack a little bit. So when that happened, I had my life figured out financially, but I was a mess. I just didn't know it. I was drinking, I was clubbing every day. I was 200 pounds eating BS. And so, again, things happen for a reason every single time. And when I understood that, after that accident, it just motivated me to kind of move forward. So I feel like as humans, like, what do you believe in? What's you either have limiting beliefs or empowering beliefs. And I've always had the blessing to always just fill myself up with empowering beliefs. Whether that's through my mother, through prayer, through just connecting. I've always believed in something bigger than me and a bigger purpose. So whenever things happen to me, even at that early age, I always look for the reasoning behind it, that why. And I always use that to catapult me and move forward, because I know things are going to happen. It's not really what happens in the external, it's how you deal with it internally. So
yeah, no, absolutely. Your belief system is so powerful.
Thank you.
Right? In general, like, everyone's belief system is what they have. That's what helps you grow. That's what you could either go to the next level with your belief system, or you could just settle for less in life and not live to what your fullest potential is, to what your creator created you to do. You know?
I agree 1,000%. I think that at the center of any transformation, any breakthrough, is your belief. Do you have limited beliefs or do you have empowering beliefs?
Right.
So that's what unlocks you mentioned potential. So if you have limiting beliefs, even in business, you don't have to go through a motorcycle accident, by the way. But like, I know individuals, the leads are bad, they don't pick up, I don't work for the right company, and you have these limiting beliefs, and so you limit your potential because you think you can only do so much, and then those limited potential makes you act less and less action. You get less results, and with those less results, you create more limiting beliefs. Yeah, see, I told you so. I told you I don't have good enough leads. I told you that this company I told you the economy is bad. And so then those beliefs transition to less potential, and that less potential is less action, less results. And so it's like a downward spiral that people get into.
Yes.
And it starts with your belief, as opposed to having an empowering belief that raises your potential. I've always thought I was meant for more. That was one of my beliefs. So therefore my potential was unlimited. Therefore I would take all the actions necessary to get the results that I wanted. And when I get the result, then that just empowers my belief even more. Like being in this podcast, for example, I had the belief that I was going to impact the masses, that I would talk to people and that I would help people understand life at a deeper level, push humanity forward. So that belief led me to just a higher potential, and that potential led me to taking more actions, going to the right places, connecting with the right people, and that got me results like being in this podcast. What do you think happens after I leave this podcast? Just empower my belief that I am meant to do this because I'm here talking to you.
Yeah.
And so it's just that's the upward success cycle. That's just the upward trajectory. So you change your beliefs and you change your life, essentially.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it all starts from within, right? That's how the change begins. You gotta. It sounds like you did a lot of soul searching, right? To be able to have that belief system. I'm curious though, because this success thing isn't a straight line to success, right? So that belief system that's built up isn't automatically there, right? There's beliefs that you have to crack through.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of those beliefs that you had to crack through, those limited beliefs that you had?
That's a great question. That's
yeah.
a great question. We all have limiting beliefs. So I'm not sitting here saying that I don't have any. So some of my limiting beliefs were tailored around other people. So I felt like I was misunderstood for most of my life. So that used to, again, shrink my potential. I wouldn't speak to people the right way. I wouldn't communicate properly because I thought people didn't understand me.
Yeah.
And then I would take less action towards what I wanted. That was one big belief that I had to break through, was just being able to connect and being able to speak to other people. If I wanted to really impact the masses, then there was no way I was going to do that with that limiting belief that people don't understand me. That was a big one. I also had to overcome the belief that, how do I word this, that life is what you mentioned, like linear, that I'm trying to find the right verbiage. Essentially, I believed that I believed at one point that we were here and that you kind of live out 60, 70 years and that was all you kind of had. I had a limited belief on God, so to speak, on source, on the universe, creation, whatever you want to call it.
Just settling. Right.
Exactly. And once I understood that life was magnificent, that it was deeper, that was an empowering belief that kind of shifted my perspective with everything happening. But not believing in, again, I say God, or not connecting with source, was one of my big limiting beliefs. I didn't really have a driving force to do anything other than what was in front of me right now. And the moment that I was able to tap into that, everything that is God, I was able to like really start uncovering the mysteries of life, and then started kind of going for more. And that happened after my motorcycle accident. Laying in a hospital bed, you think about a lot of things, and so yeah, I mean, limiting beliefs are kind of what hold us down. I've been blessed to always find ways to empower myself, and so I've dealt with it by. I'm a little stuck.
No, we're gonna get to how you got over it, but I'm curious, what did it cost you when you had those beliefs?
So it cost me a lot of good relationships, partnerships, business opportunities. The limiting belief in not being understood drove me away from some of the most important people in my life, some of the mentors that I could have had, because I wouldn't connect with people. I would kind of hide in my little shell. I wouldn't speak the way that what I really felt. And so that limiting belief that people didn't understand me really drove me to kind of work, but just on my little bubble. So even when I was having some success financially and making some money, it was just me. I wasn't working with anybody. I wasn't kind of expanding my horizons. And after I kind of shifted that belief, I started connecting with more people. And again, now I'm speaking on stages. Now I'm impacting thousands and thousands of people. But that would have never happened with that limited belief that people don't. How do you get on a stage if people don't understand you?
Right. No, absolutely. You learn to go out of your comfort zone, right? Get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and not worrying about it sounds like, you remove that worry of people not understanding you and realizing that God created you to do what you're doing. And when you're living in your purpose, you're going to be understood.
Amen.
So the relationship that you have with God, because you mentioned it quite a few times, when you lay in that hospital bed, did that waver?
Elaborate on waver a little bit.
Like, did the faith waver?
Well, the opposite actually. That's when I got more connected.
Okay.
Because again, sometimes we live on autopilot. I feel like, so we're drifting, just taking actions unconsciously, and that's where I was for a majority part of my life. Again, I did make a shift at 12 years old when I got that wake up call, but it's so easy to kind of fall back into that rhythm. So by the age of 19, 20 years old, I was right back to just doing what I had to do and kind of moving without thinking about God, without thinking about my purpose. It was just right now I need to make money, and so how do I make more money right now? And when my life crashed literally and I was laying in that hospital bed, that's when I started asking myself again the deeper questions. It's always in the moments of pain, it's always in those tragedies, unfortunately, that we decide to kind of slow things down and really go within. And so when I went within, my faith didn't waver. It actually got stronger. I started understanding why things were happening for me yet again and building who I am today.
What were those deeper questions?
It's always why. It's always why. That's always kind of the question that's lingering in my mind. Even now, it's always why. I'm always asking why this, why that. So when good things happen too, sometimes I get blessed and I'm like, why? Like, what's this blessing? Why did I get it? And what am I supposed to do with it, God? And so I'm always constantly asking why, and I always constantly get answers, because you ask and you should receive. So the question that lingers in my head is always why. Those are the thoughts that I'm always thinking about. Why this, why that? And so just asking myself that has always led me to an answer, and that answer is what I try to share with as many people as possible.
And I mean, man, the power of why is real, and when you crack through that belief system to start building the empowering belief system, right? When you crack through those limited beliefs, I believe that your true core values start to be uncovered, right? So obviously spirituality is one of those core values. What are some other core values that you hold on to lean into when times get difficult? Because life's not perfect, right? Shit happens. It's gonna get fucked up. Right. So what do you do what do you lean into when those times come up?
So people call it a bunch of different things. People call it prayer, people call it meditation, people call it priming. I personally call it priming because it's just priming. I essentially prime myself. As my deepest value is connecting to source. And so the way that I do that is by priming. So every morning I take some time, whether that's 15 minutes or 20 minutes or sometimes an hour, if the time permits. But I take some time to prime myself and really connect with my deepest value, which is God. And just knowing that I'm part of a bigger plan, a bigger purpose, allows me to push forward through all difficulties. Again, once I go back into connecting with source, it just leads me to kind of the right belief leads me to understanding my potential and what I'm meant to do with any given situation. And so I take actions based on that value that I'm part of a bigger plan, I guess is the way that I could put it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I just want everybody that's listening in and watching to understand the power of that higher source, whether you call it God, the universe, the infinite intelligence, whatever you believe. Connecting with that higher source that's greater than yourself, to trust and know that higher source is what's going to help you unlock your fullest potential. Man, it don't get more powerful than that, bro. That's what got me through sobriety. That's what got me to where I am today. Without that higher source, without that relationship, I'm not where I am today. I'm probably not even fucking alive. You know what I'm saying?
Same.
So it's so important, and there's people out there that struggle with it because you know, they don't understand that there's a big difference between religion and spirituality, you know, and learning how to build that relationship with that higher source to your understanding. Nobody could tell you how to build it. Nobody could tell you what that relationship's supposed to be like. Nobody could say this is what God is. Nobody knows. Nobody really knows. It's the God of your understanding. It's the relationship that you choose to build with that higher source, right? And doing it through prayer and meditation and utilizing it to take your life to the next level. Man, that's what it's about.
You dropped a lot of bars there. You said a lot. You said a lot.
That's real though, man. You know, what we're talking about, all this aliveness and all this purpose, and what makes you come alive?
My family. My. Let me be I'm gonna be super raw and real with you. My wife.
Okay.
I'm one of those believers that. I'm one of those people that believe that my partner is everything, even more than my children. I love my children to. Essentially, though, I'm their father. They love me because I'm their father. Essentially, they'll grow up and they'll go away. My mother loves me because I'm her son, and my brothers love me because I'm their brother. But my wife chooses to love me every single day, and I've developed such a connection with my wife where, to get real deep, part of purpose. I believe that part of life's purpose is to find that other individual that you can connect with and can kind of create that understanding for you. My life started shifting entirely once I felt understood, once I felt that somebody was choosing to love me every single day for who I am, and that's super powerful. Me and my wife have created some amazing experiences, some amazing children, and so that's at the core of my being. It's just I show up the way that I show up. Predominantly for my wife. Again, in the external, we're talking about just kind of like what pushes you forward. I'm super motivated to kind of propel in life because my wife is there. She's my backbone, and I want her to experience the fullest version of me. So I take care of me so that she could take care of her, and together we're a force for sure.
That's a bar, and that you just mentioned. I don't know if you realized it, but because I always say, man, you can't take care of anybody and love anybody if you don't love yourself and take care of yourself. So in order to be selfless, you got to be selfish first, right? And man, it's so important for people to really understand that and the value of relationships, right? The relationship that you have with your wife, you said she's your backbone, that's your support system, right? It's so important for people to have that support system. I mean, there's some people out there who aren't blessed to have family like that, right? But there's other ways to find it and have that support system so that you have someone that you could consider your backbone, someone that helps you be able to push the needle forward, somebody that helps you wake up and brings you alive, you know what I mean? And yeah, listen, it could be your wife, it could be your mother, it could be your kids, it could be the people in your community that you're building. There's so many different ways to find that support that could help you grow and keep you accountable. And man, it's beautiful that's your wife, man. That's what's up, bro.
Yeah, we're not meant to do this life alone. So whether that's with your wife, in my case, or like you mentioned, your community, your friends. When I say friends, it has to be deeper than just a friend, you know. Your children. But essentially, I feel like as souls, as being, we crave connection, and so that's what really brings. I think that's a source of bringing someone alive, is just being able to connect with someone on a deeper level, knowing that somebody's counting on you to be the best you. I think that raises standards all across the board. So whether that's, again, the way you show for your community and you feel that connection, that they're looking to you for guidance or they're looking to you for support, that drives individuals forward. But when you're doing things for your own accord, just because you want to make more money, because you want to drive the nice car, because you want to be healthy, it typically doesn't last. Because when life hits you and you don't have something outside of you that kind of propels you, and it gets hard, then you waver, so to speak. But knowing that you have somebody, again, when I had my motorcycle accident, I still didn't know my wife. That was my mom. I knew that I had to kind of push forward, because if I wasn't there for her, then who was? and I had that connection, that intimate connection with my mother. And so again, yeah, I agree. Whether it's your mother, your wife, your kids, but just finding that connection with another person, with another soul, is, I think, a key to kind of moving along this difficult life.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. You shouldn't have to do it alone in anything you do in life. You know what I mean? Like it's not supposed to be like that. You're supposed to do life, business with other people, right? Nobody does it by themselves, right? I mean, the greatest, the biggest conglomerate companies in the world didn't do it by themselves, right? Look at the Elon Musks of the world, Tesla, the Apples of the world, the Warren Buffetts of the world. They didn't build their businesses by themselves. They had people around them. They had a supporting cast. They had a supporting, like a team. The best athletes in the world, the Michael Jordans of the world, the Tom Brady's of the world. They didn't do that shit by themselves. They didn't win all those chips by themselves. They had a team, a supporting cast. So it's important to build, to surround yourself with people that are going to help you grow and bring you alive.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of reiterate on that, environment is so important. You know, shying away a little bit from wife and relationship, you mentioned a lot of team, and so environment, I think, is also key. So for my early childhood, I grew up literally in the hood. One of my best friends is locked up right now, Rodolfo. He let off an AK-47 at the cops. And so that was my environment. My other close friend is one of the kingpins on the block. And so that was the environment that I was in. So of course I knew how to make money. They knew how to make money. They knew how to hustle. They knew how to. So again, there's a quote that says you are the 5 people you surround yourselves with. And so Jim Rohn. So one of my biggest blessings was my environment as well. So growing up, I had some childhood friends that we came from the same block, kind of from the same environment, and we together, we just push each other forward to the point where, we'll work at the dealership, and it was like, yo, come over here, yo, we can make, and we just grew together to the point we went to our Tony Robbins event for the first time together, and we ended up at the age of, how old? I think it was 2017, we opened up our first company together, and so we'll push each other and we'll grow with each other. But it was definitely the environment that I was surrounded in. I'll read a book, I'll share it with them. They'll read a book, they'll share it with me. If I was lacking, they were picking me up. If they were lacking, I was picking them up. And so I definitely didn't do anything by myself. Now it's my wife. Obviously we're building a family. That's my tribe now. My tribe is my children, growing them up. But you find a tribe wherever you are, and it's super important to have that right environment around you.
Man, that's so real. And tell us a little bit more about how this journey with Tony Robbins came about. What it is you're doing now, where people could find you. But I want you to go through that little journey, because there's nuggets in there. I heard the story. There's nuggets that people could realize that, you know what, I'm not fulfilled in what I'm doing. I gotta take life to the next level.
So this story that I'm kind of living out right now. It's another major breakthrough, so to speak. So for the last year and a half, as a business owner, multi-million-dollar company, I've been doing well financially for myself with my business partners that are my childhood friends. I went to kindergarten with these guys, played baseball. It was like my third baseman. I was a shortstop, my catcher, my second baseman. Like, we all literally started business together.
Everybody was Dominican, right?
Yeah, we're all Dominican. So, I built a business with them. Everything is nice and dandy, and I started feeling unaligned. And it had nothing to do with them. It had nothing to do with money. It had nothing to do with business, but it had everything to do with my purpose. And so I felt disconnected for the last maybe year and a half, and I was kind of just pushing through and just threading the needle and kind of trying to figure it out. And I remember I went to Cabos with my wife for a baby moon, and being disconnected for the first time in a long time, I completely let go of the business, let go of everything. I was able to do, again, some soul searching. Yeah. It's always when you start asking, and I'm like, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel, I'm doing well for myself. I have amazing friends. I have an insane, so why do I feel this way? And I just started getting that gut feeling that there was something else for me, that my purpose required me to kind of move forward and let some things go. And so I had that thought for a while now about kind of stepping away from my business, but it was something that, again, I got comfortable. It just made sense to kind of keep riding out that wave, building that company. It was just what I was used to for so long. And in moments of uncomfort is when you really kind of unlock yourself. So when I got uncomfortable, I let go. I came back from Cabos. I sat down with my business partners, and I was like, yo, hey, guys, I love you guys, but I'm stepping away. I'm going to step down as managing partner, and I'm going to kind of give myself some room to just see where kind of life takes me. And that was really difficult for me. I had a lifestyle that was difficult to keep up without, the finances that the business was providing. I was also letting go of some really close relationships. I knew at the end of the day that by stepping away from the business, I was going to not lose some friends, but I was definitely going to lose that connection, that intimate connection that we were building. And that was really, really tough for me. Again, I had known this guy since I was 5 years old. So for me, it was difficult, but again, God always has a plan, and He doesn't ever put thoughts in you or in your head without knowing kind of what that next step is. So I let go completely. I had no idea what I was gonna do. I just knew that I wasn't gonna work my car business anymore, and I started volunteering. So I was like, you know what? I have free time right now, and let me Well, I did a Tony Robbins event, my like 4th or 5th event. And I got so much value from it, and I saw so much transformation. I made some good friends there, and so I was like, you know what? I did some research, and I found out that I could crew for him. I could go ahead and kind of assist in his production, and I did that. And having let go of all the version of me who I was, which was keeping me small, because again, I was limited in the car industry and my business, not because of anything that anybody else did, but more importantly because I wasn't aligned. So I was kind of just showing up a lesser version of myself. But now that I let everything go, and I would wake up every day without knowing what the day entailed. So when I went to volunteer, I was very open to the environment, and I showed up with a sense of with an energy that was unmatched. And I say that humbly, but I was running through that crowd and that stadium and those participants and just making them feel empowered and helping individuals kind of unlock who they really, really were. And it was just so hard to not notice. So they reached out to me right away, and kind of connected me to what I do now. They essentially wanted me to bring that energy and bring that passion for growth and development to individuals all over the country. And essentially recruited me to be one of Tony Robbins' peak performance strategists. I'm one of 3 right now, that kind of go around in corporate environments, sharing his message, sharing his methodologies, instilling his strategies, and helping individuals as well as businesses take their game to the next level and perform at their peak. So it was really about the way I showed up for myself. I was so alive, and I felt so understood in these events and this volunteering act that everything kind of lined up. And so I sat back and realized how powerful it was to make a decision, an uncomfortable decision, because if I would have stayed the route, I would have never had the opportunity to go volunteer, which would have not led to me kind of impacting all those people, and I wouldn't be here today. I would just be a business owner. And nothing wrong with being a business owner, but I just knew personally that I was meant to do more and to help more people. Selling a car is awesome. I loved what I did for a long time, but now I'm really filled. Now I'm really aligned with my purpose. I wake up every day excited to kind of learn so that I can teach. So.
Man, we just learned something else that keeps you, that makes you come alive, right? Is your purpose.
My purpose.
And doing what you do, being of service. That's a beautiful thing, man. You mentioned how you said something about being uncomfortable.
Yeah, the way I like to phrase it is stepping into the unknown. So I think that too many people have to have, and I was one of those people that had to have not only my next step, but the next 10 steps aligned. I needed to know exactly why I was doing what I was doing. Again, that question, why? And so I would always kind of try to, I wouldn't take action unless I knew what the outcome was. And that only took me so far. And when I realized that you sometimes just have to jump off the cliff and step into that unknown, and a lot of times that's uncomfortable, that's when you really see, number one, that you mentioned trust in God, but it's deeper than trust. You need to know that God got you.
Yeah.
Because trusting is one thing, but knowing is something completely different. I knew that by letting go, I was going to step into a bigger version of myself. What that version was, I had no idea, and that's why I call it the unknown. I took that leap of faith saying, hey, I'm going to step away from this, what's my bread, the way I make my bread, the way that I've lived for the last 7 years of my life. I'm just going to step away from this completely. What I'm going to do, I don't know, but I know that I'm going to show up the best version of myself every single day. And so the unknown, I think, is key to transformation, breakthrough, reforging, whatever you call it. It's just being able to get uncomfortable and step into places or taking actions that you are not typical of taking.
Isn't it such a blessing and so incredible to know that when you let go and let God, man, something happens.
Every time.
Right? The doors start opening, the mountains start moving, and he starts being the creator that he is and creating your life, creating your destiny. Because you know what? He knows that you know he got you. Man, it's such a blessing to be aware of that and know that. Tell everybody where they can find you, man.
So my Instagram, Brian Cartagena. My name, Bryant, Bryant Cartagena. You can reach out to me for absolutely anything. I literally love just helping humans understand why they're here, their purpose, and help them grow. I'm also host, again, if you're a business owner, or you're in the corporate environment, you have an organization, a team, that's what I excel at, is just kind of bringing Tony's methodologies, strategies, philosophy over to organizations to help them completely shift their game and kind of take it to the next level. So you can find me at Brian Cartagena on Instagram, Brian Cartagena on LinkedIn, Brian Cartagena everywhere. Or you can catch me out at a Tony event. You are audacious enough to go to one of Tony's events, I'll be there. You'll see me, and I stand out, so you won't miss me.
That's awesome, man. That's all going to be in the show notes, too, for everybody listening. Also, a few questions that I ask all the guests. The first is, what is the word reforge?
Reforge. So, to me, reforge is reconstructing something again, but better. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like reconstructing something for a better purpose. So you reforge metal, for example, to make better use of it. So I feel like at the core of who we are, we all need to reforge, whether you went through something tragic or not. I feel like reforging is just taking what life has given you, and again, you get lemons and making lemonade. That's what reforging means to me, just being able to find a better purpose for what already is.
That's beautifully said, man. And what does the word purpose mean to you?
Purpose is, again, you can look at it as your why. To me, purpose is the spear that heads your life. I feel like you move based on your... So the way I'm picturing it is an arrow, and purpose being that tip of the spear that kind of moves you forward. Without purpose, you're wandering. Without purpose, you're drifting. Without purpose, you're just a stick. The moment that you add that tip and you add that purpose, you become an arrow, and you know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. I just came up with that right now, by the way.
That's a bar, bro. Drop that bar. Save that for social, bro.
But yeah, purpose to me is that driving factor, the driver of your life is why you do what you do. And I think everybody needs to ask themselves that question: why am I here? Why do I do what I do? Why am I alive? Why this relationship? Why this environment? And the moment you start asking yourself why, you start locking into that purpose, you start driving and moving towards the right direction.
Love that, man. Again, the power of why keeps coming up through this episode. And for the listeners out there, the viewers, there's probably somebody out there who is going through a struggle right now, and they don't know how to reforge their life. What's one tip you could give them for reforging?
So I give so much credit, and I mentioned it earlier, to priming. I feel like everybody could do it, no matter where you are, at any point in your life. You can kind of sit with yourself. The way I start my day is by priming. And what I mean by priming is, again, meditating, prayer. So I take some time to, number one, just connect with myself and be present. So I take a couple of deep breaths and just realize that, hey, I'm breathing. The fact that I'm breathing, that already propels you, that takes you 10 steps ahead of the person who's kind of limited and going through it. So I just connect with myself and realize that I'm breathing. I have a heart that is beating without me doing absolutely anything. I woke up, it's a brand new day with a sun that's shining that I had nothing to earn. I did nothing to earn that sun, that light. You know, so once I do that, then I go ahead and start sending that energy out to other individuals, you know, asking for people to feel love, to feel positivity, to feel energy. And then once I'm there, I start visualizing my future. I start connecting to what I want to experience. I start connecting to the deeper parts of me. And so priming, again, and you could do it in whatever way makes sense for you, but just taking some time, regardless of what place in your life you're in, to connect with that source and understand, again, go back to why you're doing what you're doing, is key and essential to all human progress, all human growth. Life is not linear, like you mentioned, but as human beings, if we're not growing, we're dying. So you always have to focus on what you can do, but more importantly, you need to focus on why you're doing what you're doing. So I feel just sitting with yourself in the morning, do a prayer, meditation before you go about your day. I promise you that just priming your mind, priming your life to understand what the day entails and understanding how blessed you are to kind of be alive will help you surpass any difficulties, will help you reforge your life, so to speak.
Man, for the viewers out there, there's quite a few things there he said to unpack, man. I mean, first off, self-care, being able to sit with yourself, connecting with your higher source, whether you call it God, the universe, the infinite intelligence, whatever you believe, and also gratitude. Man, does that shift perspective and help you have this powerful shift of energy in life. And man, it just brings aliveness. Gratitude brings aliveness to my soul, man. So, Brian, man, one thing I do want to ask, a little fun question is, tell the audience what you like to do for fun. One thing you like to do for fun, something you're doing this week for fun.
I'm a daredevil, bro. So I'm going snowboarding this weekend. I put my life to the test.
Okay.
So I ride motorcycles at a track. I snowboard. Anything that involves kind of, I don't want to say put my life in danger, but anything that kind of what brings me alive is just stepping into the unknown. You don't know, you're snowboarding, you don't know, you know, what's going to get in your way, you know. So I'm going snowboarding this weekend. I love snowboarding. I love action sports. I love anything that kind of challenges you and brings out that adrenaline. So it's one of the ways that I ground myself, because I'm a dad, I'm a family man, and I walk around telling people to live life the right way. So the moment to disconnect a little bit for me is just putting my life on the line. So I love doing those crazy things that awesome. Bring you alive.
Oh, that's great, man. It's crazy because I want to go skydiving. I heard it's like the most blissful experience you can have.
Same.
But the last time I stepped foot on a mountain like that for skiing or snowboarding, I went in the Black Diamonds as a rookie and busted my ass all the way down the shit. They had to come help me down.
No way.
I was like 18, 19 years old, man. But I haven't done it since. But man, enjoy.
Maybe we'll set up a trip, bro.
Hey, maybe we'll do it, bro. Let's get it popping, bro.
Dope.
But listen, man, thanks again for coming through, bro. This has been dope. I expected the energy to be there, and it was exceeded that level. And man, it was awesome having you on. Thanks again for coming through, brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me, for giving me the platform to share my story. Again, I share my story just so that people that are out there can kind of connect. It might not reach everybody, but just being able to show people what's possible and how or why I do what I do, to me is super important. It's part of my purpose, so to speak, to feel understood. It fills up one of my cups. So thank you for giving me that opportunity to make me feel understood and be able to share with others what I feel like works for me.
Yeah, no doubt, man. That's what this platform's all about, bro. For people to be able to give it back, to help others. And man, for all you listeners out there, thanks for coming through. Thanks for listening. Thanks for viewing. And remember, there's somebody out there that might not be hearing this message. And man, just share, like, because you'll never know the impact that you can have on somebody else by sharing. Thank y'all for coming out. Stay blessed, stay productive, and stay profitable.
You've been listening to Reforge Your Life with your host, Joe Rivera. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more about Joe Rivera and how he can help you or your organization reforge your life and regain your place at the top, head on over to withjoerivera.com and follow Joe on all social platforms. The Reforge Your Life podcast was produced by Thrive Loud Productions. Thanks for listening.